I
Do you think there might be civil strife in France?
Oh, they're very fanatic. Anything can happen. You saw what kind of protest they have. That's not a joke. The French, when they start a revolution, they really have a revolution.
Oh boy, do you think they could have civil war with the French that are there and the immigrant population?
Remember years ago when you talked about my war cycles, I said I'm more worried about internal social war in the United States than outside wars, and I think there's a bigger chance in the United States than in Europe.
Wow, that's a big bold. So you think that we could have civil war here in the U.S.?
Well, if I'm an outsider, if I make a point that I don't hear anybody make, is the following: that they say, well, it's Trump's fault because this guy is anti-immigration, and that's why he started killing Mexicans or whatever he did. I'm not totally informed. I think it's the other way around. If the Democrats would just get things organized, and people will not get that angry, so they have to go out killing immigrants and do whatever they're doing. So, but the media take the other side, so they will never solve it. So I think it's the Democrats whose fault it is that all these killings are there, and not the Republicans.
Well, the guy in Dayton was a far left winger who backed Elizabeth Warren in socialist, and then the guy in El Paso that drove down, I think from Texas, he said, I hate both parties. I just hate both parties that let this immigrant go, and they'll try to blame it on Trump, but you
But
know,
didn't he say I hate immigrants?
oh he just hates the whole system, and he said this is before even Trump got into office. So that's what you're talking about. That the whole
So there is a cycle of social unrest in the United States, which is 60 years old. So you're going back to what happened in the 60s, and it could explode. I think it's going to explode, and it's going to be a major problem.
how bad do you think it'll be?
Well, the 60s was pretty bad. I remember students being killed by the police because they were protesting in universities, and today people are even more extreme. So I really don't understand about these things. I just know there's a 60-year social cycle, and it's interesting to watch that out of the blue, suddenly, you got two kinds of United States, and they really start hating each other. So that's very scary.
And you don't think there's a war in the Middle East probable, or a war with China and the the whole Chinese, this trade war getting kicked up. And I know you're not really following the actual trade war, but your cycles are talking. You were saying before that there's a probability of more problems with China than the Middle East, which now we have the Iran.
Yeah, you see, also with Iran, I didn't think Iran, but if one mistake can ignite the whole situation, so it's now there's a thing with Russia going on. I mean, it can come from anywhere, and it's just a dangerous period.
This is part of your cycle work, though. You're talking about the civil unrest side and the war side cycles. Both are turning up now.
I will give you one. I give you a secret, which I didn't share, I think, with anybody. Do you know that I was approached by a delegation of Russians, and I was invited to Russia because Mr. Putin watched my situation about war cycles, and he was very interested.
Wow.
Yeah,
Are you going?
I've been already, so I just give you a clue what's going on behind the scenes.
Wow.
You can,
What'd you tell him?
if you look at my website, you see me on Moscow One channel together with Putin.
What did you tell him?
I can't, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. I don't even say if I met him. I'm not going to say anything, but I just say that, like, I work with Chinese governments also. There are in the East people who are more esoteric, and they understand that not everything is as rational as the West likes to believe. And if you would like to understand what they're thinking, what they're doing, I would advise you to look at my cycle work and get a different idea how most of the population of the world approaches problems.
And you think that they're tuned into your war cycle work.
No, I didn't say that. I personally find it very interesting that if you see a guy with Putin on television in Russia, that no American ever approached me, what's going on over there? It's very interesting. They talk about Russian collusion, this and that. It's like it didn't happen. It doesn't exist. I just gave you a clue. I don't want to talk more about it. If you go to my website, I don't know if you saw it. You see me there. This is just a small clip. It was an hour long. That I was on the Russian television, and we talked about the economic situation of Putin, And some people, go according to cycles, go according to war cycles. And other people listen to CNBC and Fox Channel and who knows what. And that's where they get the information from.
So how is your war cycle doing? How is your plot graph with the war cycle coming along?
Listen, now I'm on a roll. I want to tell you one more. When I was at Goldman Sachs, I got a call from the White House, from
Okay.
people around President Bush. The funny thing is, I hanged up 5 times because I thought Goldman Sachs was making a fun of me. Then I got a call from Abby Cohen, who was then famous in Goldman Sachs. He says, I was approached by President Bush, and I said, you have to go to Charles Nenner because what you want to know is about cycles in the economy. That was before the crash of 2000. And I worked with the economic department, and I didn't believe one word I said. I sent to them exactly how the Nasdaq would go down 80%, but they knew better. So the whole world is in disarray, and I just do my work, and slowly I'm coming out a little bit to say, guys, I have something more to say. I didn't want to bring it up, but isn't it ridiculous that somebody has a connection to the White House, somebody has a connection to Putin, maybe I get killed over this, I don't know. And maybe there's something interesting over here.
Yeah, well, I think that's very fascinating. I'm all ears. And you've said this before, but now that you said this about the 2000 cycle, they didn't believe you that it was going to go down 80%. Sure did. The market got creamed and it bottomed out at 666 in the last go around. In March of 2009. How low do you think this is going to go in the next 2.5 years? Now, you've said this before, and people are like, "Oh, come on!" But I want to hear you say it because I believe you. Go ahead.
My target is 5,000 on the Dow Jones.
You've said that for a long time. Your psycho work is pulling 5,000 on the Dow.
Yeah, I just want to mention one thing. If you would go, I'm not making too much public relations over here, but if you go to my website and you go to me sitting in 2006 in CNBC, the Dow was 10,000, and they asked me where is it going, and I said by the end of December 2007 it's at 14,300, and that's where it went before it crashed by the end of 2007. So you can see it yourself. It's not because it's such a great work, it's just analysis that works or doesn't work, and it seemed to work. So I have to continue to think that it works. So then on the downside, we can go as low as 5,000. Again, 5,000 was also in the 1990s, and the world didn't go under. So don't think, there's no world anymore, because everything is continue a bit different, but everything's continue like it was.
But some people, if they hang in there and keep buying and holding for the long term, they're going to get wiped out.
They're going to be wiped out. But what else is new? That's always how it works. Like, again, I'm watching CNBC. The market is down 1,000 points. Nobody comes up and says maybe we should sell.
Okay. And right now you are telling people overall, if you're just going to be a lazy investor, you're saying sell, sell, sell. Get out now.
No. We say cover short. In 2 days we're going to buy.
and then when are you going to tell people just get out and stay out? When is that going to happen?
Probably in the middle of September. Sell. It's very simple.
And I want to talk about Deutsche Bank. You gave some humdinger predictions on that one, and I know people were watching. You said if it gets below 8, worry. If it goes to 640, it's going to go straight to zero. And boy, I'll tell you, it got down to 650, 656, 660. Ding, 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 ding. And then it went back up. It tried to get over 8, couldn't do it. It's somewhere in the mid-7s. Deutsche Bank, the most systemically, why do I bring it up? The IMF said it was the most systemically dangerous bank in the world. And I know you said there's plenty of other banks. But tell me about your appraisal of Deutsche Bank. I know you looked at it. What's going on with DB?
I think there were a lot of investors who tried to hold this up. The same story again. They know if it breaks 650, it's going under, but they still have a lot to sell. So at that level, they buy. It goes up to 7.5, 780. Or we can sell again. According to what I see is that around the 12th, 13th of August, they finished selling, and the Deutsche Bank goes down again. Will it break 650 at this time? I have to look it up. But by the 12th or 13th of August, the bounce should be over.
Well, and so if you're back to, you said 640, 650, that's close enough, 10 cents. But you're saying if it gets past 640, it's a sleigh ride right down.
Right.
Wow.
Like I said, the market can come down also without Deutsche Bank collapsing. It's an interesting thing, but there's much more going on in the world than only Deutsche Bank.
Right. And could Deutsche Bank pull down other banks if it goes to zero? I mean, is that going to be a bad juju, bad omen?
Yes, yes, but it's already a bad omen. I just want to bring up one more thing that I found interesting. Like now, I'm hearing about the manipulation of the currency of China, the punishing the United States and not punishing the United States by pushing up the currency and not pushing up the currency. It's all impossible. You cannot push up a currency against cycles. So we know exactly what happens to the currency in China, and it's so funny to hear that everybody thinks they're manipulating because you cannot manipulate anything. So the same thing with Deutsche Bank, you can manipulate a little bit if you know the level is 650 and you throw in a lot of money to keep that level going, but in the end, there's nothing you can do. Now, there's a big
Wait,
problem
wait,
in.
and you think in the end Deutsche Bank is poof?
Well, I can only see cycles and price targets. I don't know if they're going to save it or not. That if you really want to know about Deutsche Bank, we have to do some work. And if people are big investors, give us a phone call. We'll do the work for you. But it's not specifically that we look at Deutsche Bank. It's just one of the things we do.
Got it, got it, got it. But you were saying about the overall market, the Deutsche Bank didn't have to go down for the market to go down.
Correct. Correct.
So would you be a buyer of Deutsche Bank here?
No, because like I said, the 12th or 13th of August, it starts going down again. Then I have to calculate the downside price target, and that's how we work. And when the next cycle low is, and then we might buy it.
Yeah, because it might be a bounce. But you would be a
Right.
long-term holder of Deutsche Bank. I mean, you hear this stuff about how they're not going to let that go under. They can't just wait, sprinkle fairy dust on it and make it stay up. I mean, they got to do something to not let it go under.
Yeah.
But you don't buy any of that. They're not going to let it go under when your cycles are saying are the cycles.
Yeah, but if you look at charts of European banks or banks like ING or whatever, they all look very bad. It's not Deutsche Bank. There's much more going on.
The overall market is very weak in Europe.
Yeah.
Okay. How bad will this civil unrest get, you think? I mean, I've already asked you that, but so it's not just the 60s. I mean, this is going to be worse than the 60s. Is that what your cycles are saying?
Well, you have cycles, but each cycle things become worse. Like world wars always become worse. The next world war is going to be more difficult than the second, than the first one. So every cycle becomes worse than the first cycle. I'm not expert in sociology, so I don't know how bad it's going to be. But based on cycles, it has to be worse than the 60s. And I tell you, I don't feel comfortable living in the United States anymore because people are so aggressive about everything. I mean, I give you one example. I went to the airport and I said, somebody, where's the men's room? And they almost killed me. There's no men's room. It's called the people room. I said, I'm sorry, but you don't have to be so aggressive. So it's an amazing situation. People become so aggressive if you say one word wrong in your innocence. It's going to explode one day or the other.
And closing remarks for the little guy. Would you be afraid of buying silver here? I mean, we're going to look back at 1630 silver and go, oh man, I should have bought that. Would you be a buyer here?
I usually give this answer. If you believe me that silver goes up, you will always believe me when I tell you when to buy.
Okay.
So give me a chance to tell you when to buy, because if it goes up in the meantime, it goes down 15%. Why be emotionally stressed? I try to take the emotions out of investing, and why just sit on silver when it's not necessary? We have big hedge funds. They come up with a stock. Doesn't matter. Let's take IBM. They say fundamentally we want to buy IBM, but it could do nothing for half a year until everybody figures out they have to buy IBM. So tell us when to buy IBM, so we don't have to sit and wait for half a year. So that's what we do. So if you want to buy silver, take a look at the research and we'll tell you exactly when to buy silver.
Or anything else. All right. Charles Nenner Research Center. Do you have anything that you want to tell people about getting a free subscription? You were talking about in the pre-interview that, I have a free subscription, but we don't have that many people take us up on that. Would you please talk about that for a second?
Well, I just told you before we started, I find it interesting that from all the programs, we give everybody free subscription, but from your program, there are very, very few people who take advantage of it. So I'll say it again. You can get a free subscription. We give you on all the markets 4 times a week updates. We tell you exactly when the cycle low is, when the cycle top is. We have an intraday service that tells you during the day if the market S&P bottoms at 10 past 2 or 20 to 3. We give you the exact number. You can try it out for free. And nobody's going to force you to take anything. And these times are very difficult. So please take it and look at what we can do.
This might be a good time to be just buying your service in general if you're needing some inspiration to buy, or maybe in this case more sell than buy, because you said the next 2.5 years is going to be rough. 2.5 years rough for the stock market.
Very, very, very rough.
All right. Well, Charles Nenner, charlesnenner.com is the website. It's the Charles Nenner Research Center. I think up at the upper right-hand corner, there is a free, your free trial, which I also put a link there for you too as well. Charles Nenner, thank you for joining us from Europe on USAWatchdog.com. Always interesting, my friend.
We'll do it again after the crash.
Okay.